evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is whenever you're watching this. Evening if you're watching it live and you live in my time zone. Otherwise, well, anyway. Hey, so I want to quickly apologize if you are watching. Right, me, my hair behaving. Right. I want to apologize if you are watching this and you tuned in to watch the stream last week and nothing happened, or if you're watching this in the archive and like, hey, why wasn't there a thing for this week? And sorry, I fully intended, I had every intention, I'll say this, I had every intention of doing a stream last Thursday and last Friday, but I tweeted out the announcement on Thursday, and then and like within like an hour or so of tweeting that out, I just suddenly felt incredibly tired. And when I got home from work, I was just like, I am so tired. I feel I just want to lay down and relax and just chill out for the evening. And so I did. And I did it the next night as well, and just felt so much better for not doing this. I know it's. I do that. Admittedly, I don't. I feel like I don't have sufficient numbers to justify like feeling super guilty about this. Sorry, but I decided to put my own mental health first. I think the fact that I was also prepping that week to do a LARP with my girlfriend for like the first time that Saturday, so that was might have been that. Yeah, I know for sure that was definitely on my mind, and that was definitely causing me a certain amount of stress and tension, and I had a good time, and she had a good time. A good time was had by all, but it just was like, okay, there's too many things I'm trying to deal with, and something's got to give. And initially, my plans for this week were to look at a different game, but I honestly kind of had hoped to actually have. I believe I should have a physical copy, and I have been informed by the publishers that, hey, yeah, the physical copies are in the country, which is great, but it doesn't. I was kind of hoping it would actually be here in my hands at this point, but that's probably not going to happen. Oh well. So I'll take a look at that one next week. And I can still take a look at this game. So all that being said, what game is this? Well, this, as you can see, this is Fantasy Age from Green Ronin, specifically the second edition of the Fantasy Age rule book. This is the one they made some neat little changes. The system, from what I can tell, again, sadly, this is one of those games that's like, I got it, I own it, I've read through this, I want to run it, but I just haven't, because I'm sure I could do this with my regular group, but I don't want to force it on them. But it seems, so let me think how to explain the backstory of this. Okay, so around 2010, I want to say. Maybe? I don't know. No. No, it had to be before 2010. Before, like, yeah, it had to be closer, like, almost probably around 2008 or so, maybe. I don't know. Um, Green Ronin got tapped to make a tabletop version of a tabletop game for the Dragon Age IP, basically. Actually, hold on, because this is fun. This is how big a nerd. Yeah, get to see. I'll get to see just how big a nerd I am. Okay, so I made. See that? Yeah. I made box sets. I made a box set for the first one. This, gosh, is there a date on this? Does not appear to be a date on this. Maybe on the inside? I don't know. But yeah, it came with dice, handy dice. This is basic for the game. The map of Ferelden and Valerie, if you're watching this, this is why I wanted to talk to you, because hey, wow, this is the system they use for the Dragon Age role playing game. Okay, so this is the player. So yeah, I have a player's book and a game master book, and the first box set I think covers up through like, oh, I don't know. No, level 5. I think the full game goes to like level 20. So, you know, this is not unreasonable. I'm trying to Okay, yeah, 2009. 2009 the first box set comes out. Set 1. Characters levels 1 to 5. And let's see. Right, second book. Again, we have a player's guide and a GM's guide with some more stuff in it. 20. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 2011. Second one comes out. Set number 2 covers levels 6 to 10. Comes out. That comes out in 2011 because Dragon Age 2 had come out by then, and this includes information that was only, you know, made canon, I suppose, in that game. But okay. And then sometime after that, they did release a third set, but that has, honestly, the physical sets they're not even making those anymore. I don't even think they're selling them as PDFs, such as they were. Like Green Ronin they've long since just said, okay, here is the Dragon Age RPG rulebook, and you get all of it. You get all through levels 1 to 20, all this stuff. Each set like added a few more options and whatnot, but you get the idea. But somewhere in the in the midst of all that, apparently they seem to have decided to go. Green Ronin seemed to decide, you know what? This is an okay system. We can strip out the Dragon Age specific stuff, the stuff that BioWare and EA own. We can strip that stuff out and instead do our own stuff with it. And so the first of that was Fantasy Age. It's what the AGE system. I think it's even this stuff. Yeah, you kind of see little logo there. Yeah, the adventure game engine. Ha ha ha. But and since then, they've obviously released original Fantasy Age. They did a modern Age version. They did a Kickstarter, and yeah, and since Green Ronin actually is a games publisher, they have published their own stuff. They did a Kickstarter to relaunch their, I think it was some of their OGL content. I know they did Blue Rose specifically, which is very Mercedes lackey. To more appears, I think, it's that type of fantasy. I think they call it like romantic fantasy is how they describe it. It's the strange people calling me. No, go away. But it's the YA kind of fantasy where not, and this is not me being mean. It's like it's YA. It's lighter. It's friendlier. It's there's a lot more stuff. It's a lot more games that and that Blue Rose. It's very much more like friendlier, less you might not less violent. Well, I won't say less violent, but like you know there's not so much moral ambiguity as you get with, say, Dragon Age or other stuff of there's a lot more about relationships and being good people, that kind of stuff. It's very, and also very LGBTQ plus friendly, very pro all that stuff. But anyway, hey, and they also made using the same system. They made the official Expanse RPG. So though that one's even weirder than the rest of this because that one doesn't have classes, which makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, wait, how? What? Okay. But anyway, that's the whole line. But they released Fantasy Age, and they released a whole bunch of other games, and they released more stuff for Fantasy Age and other stuff. And like they released, oh gosh, what was it? It was like they released for it was Modern Age, Dragon Age Expanse, Blue Rose. They released some supplemental materials for Fantasy Age as well. Like expand more character options, more creatures, all that kind of stat blocks, all that kind of stuff. And eventually, as with any RPG that lasts more than a couple that's lasts a sufficient amount of time, they kind of went, maybe we need to just release a new version. We release a new edition of the book. And so we have second edition, which we'll now be getting to. Okay, been enough blathering on from me. All right, let's go. All right. So, yes, lovely, much better look at the cover. So, the artwork, I'm not an art person, but I like, this is cool, especially like, okay, we've kept this character, this lovely lady here, lovely warrior lady with the flaming sword, very cool. She's definitely was on the first edition book. She was on the cover, featured very prominently, attacking like an ogre or something, I don't know, with the flaming sword. Very dramatic. This character, on the other hand, features more on Green Ronin's, I think the Freeport books, I believe. Yeah, she was on those covers. So I think it's very cool and very much more explicitly tying the two together. And I'm really, because, that's something else Green Ronin did. They made a series of adventures, you know, piratey nautical adventures for like third edition D&D in a setting called Freeport, which also happened to include snake people. And yeah, there's like some Lovecrafty stuff. Yeah. Oh, look, you can even see the yellow sign in the background. Yeah, this is, yeah. But so that's cool. Cool. And we're very explicitly tying the two together. I'm hoping, part of me hopes that they might, I don't know, finally release the Freeport stuff for AGE. I think that'd be cool. I'm kind of amazed they didn't do it before. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, got some updates artwork. Yeah, and here is our same fighter warrior character. This is actually the artwork from the book. I don't know why she's using an axe in this piece of art when, like, the more prominent stuff has her with the flaming sword. Whatever. This she was the I think it was the warrior class. I don't know. We'll see. Blah 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 blah. Another look at the art. Art credits. Da 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 da. Table of contents. It's night. It's linked and stuff, which is great, and it makes me happy to see that. All right. We don't need to see this. Okay, but they do introduce. They do kind of. So I feel like they sort of this edition introduces kind of these. I can only think of them as like iconic characters. Like I think Paizo with Pathfinder has their like the iconic character who's like, okay, this is this character and they are this class, this class, and blah blah blah, and we could write like stories about them and whatnot. And I think it's kind of cool. I find it kind of interesting that they sort of introduced 4 new characters for second edition of this game. Well, maybe more like 3, because I'm sure we already, again, we have our pirate girl, lady, woman from the Freeport stuff. But anyway, getting on. Blah blah blah. Introductions. Da 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 da. But mostly, I want to get to this. What changed? What did we change between editions? So, a couple things. So okay, one, they added another new class. Original Fantasy Age had 3 classes: Mage, Rogue, Warrior. Again, because they were working off of Dragon Age. Dragon Age only has 3 classes, but tabletop gaming is not the same as playing a video game. So obviously there's going to be people who want to play more. Okay, yeah, we have the spellcaster, yeah, we have the sneaky person, yeah, we have the fighty person, but okay, what about the people who just want to talk? What about the bards? And admittedly, yeah, bard is technically a specialization, because they don't call them subclasses or whatever, and you get multiples of them, but you can take several of them. But hey, what's the class for like people who want to focus on talking? And I'm not 100% sure, but Envoy may have actually been introduced in like the companion, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. I'd have to look, but I don't really care. Sorry, I don't want to do that right now. Get your first specialization at level 1. That was a thing again, because we're working off of Dragon Age. initially it's like, okay, get first specialization at level 4. I think in the actual Dragon Age game, you get in Origins, you get it at like, I think it was a little higher than level 4, but again, we're capping at 20, I think. So anyway, revised class advancement, new ancestry and heritage specialization, ancestry talents and heritage specializations. Neat. New conditions, class stunt lists. Okay, we'll get to the stunt lists in a bit. That's a fun little mechanic this system has. Mage push a failed spellcasting roll. New mechanic for mate. Talent specializations. Okay, they changed. So yeah, talents and specializations. They had 3 degrees. It was like, yeah, it was novice, journeyman, and master. Apparently, they decided that someone up somewhere in there. Apparently, they decided like, okay, journeyman feels weird, so we're going to call it expert instead. Which I feel like, I don't know, journeyman made sense to me, but I guess it's, it's one of those like old artisan guild things where it's like, okay, you're a novice when you're apprentice, whatever, and then you're a journeyman means like, okay, you mastered the basics or whatever, so now you're going off to study under other masters or whatever. But whatever, it's a different term. Maybe people found that more appealing. Subsystems developed for other games have been revised here and offered as options, which is neat. Fortune. Okay, expanse includes fortune. You can use fortune instead of health. That's kind of neat. That might actually be a little more for those people because health in these games can be a little abstract. Churn offered as churn is referred as peril and complementary to the new daring system. Also options for horror rules. Neat. Talent specialization has been renamed. Alchemy turned into alchemical explosives because we need to be explicit about what it's for, I guess. Arcane Dabbler has been changed to Arcane Disciple. Totem Warrior is now Aspect Warrior. I can definitely grasp why you'd want to change that, both because D&D using Totem Barbarian, and also because maybe using the term totem could be better. I don't know. The drinking focus is now tolerance. Okay. And added slings as a focus for group. So, yeah. Oof. Now, and I did try to track down a fillable PDF character sheet for this, because I've found that like one of the best ways for me to wrap my head around a system, just see how all the pieces fit together, is actually to go through the character creation process. But I just couldn't find one. I don't know, maybe it's too new, or there's not enough support for it out there. They do have like, okay, here's the character sheet, but that's like, okay, but I would need to print this out and write on it, and I don't want to do that. I like having a PDF because it's nice and neat, and my handwriting is and I don't like my handwriting. Anyway, okay, moving on. Okay, so presumably, I guess these are supposed to be our character. Here we are. No, wait, these obviously can't be our characters because the rogue is an elf and the warrior is a human. And then so these are clearly not our new iconic art characters. So that's interesting. Anyway. And hey, here's a bunch of systems here's a bunch of games we've got made or will be we have made or will make or are in the process of making that also use this system. System. So again, yeah. Yeah. Originally designed for Dragon Age RPG. G now includes multi-genre modern age role-playing game. Blue Rose, the AGE role-playing game of romantic fantasy. That's a title. Mythos Horror RPG Cthulhu Awakens, which has not released yet, but I believe should be. I think they did a Kickstarter for it, so that should be coming out at some point. The Expanse role-playing game based on the James S.A. Corey novels, and the 5th Season RPG based on the N.K. Jemisin novels. So, like, I don't know, whoever is at Green Ronin getting these, arranging for this stuff to be like, yeah, hey, arranging licensing and what deals is, they seem to know what they're doing. I assume seem to be pretty good at their job. Good for them. Okay. Right. Okay. Quick thing. Okay. Ability. So yeah, you always. So basic rule stuff is right. You roll 3d6, add ability plus some other potential modifiers, and you want to beat a certain target number. Basically. So yeah. So instead of having a d20, it's you're rolling 3d6 instead of a single d20, which maybe kind of fudges the math a little because bell curve and whatnot, standard whatever, that kind of thing. I'm not a math person, but that is definitely gonna change the results. But so you can see, yeah, you roll 3d6, add that together, add abilities, add the relevant ability score value, because you don't actually, you just use the ability score. Well, we'll get to that when we talk about abilities, but yeah, add abilities, hope you meet or beat whatever the target number is. Easy. Stunts are a neat little thing that make things more interesting because, you don't get a 20, so you can't, there's no like crit success, crit fail, whatever. So instead it's like, okay, you roll a success, your roll is a success. Let's see. Yeah. Roll success and you roll doubles on any of the two dice, you get stunt points, which you can then use to do fancy little stunts. And that's why when they sold the first set number 1, why there's 2 white dice and 1 red die, because the red die is the special die that says, okay, that you look at to go, okay, how many stunt points did I generate? Because so that's handy to know. And again, this whole system is based on a number of d6s, presumably because Green Ronin went, hey, why don't we pick dice that people are likely to have instead of forcing them to go out and buy other special dice just for this? Because I don't know, it's a lot easier to get up to 3 die. You need like 3d6s at most. Easy. All right, moving on. Look, another character from the first edition of the game. I believe this was the rogue in the first edition of the game. Anyway, love the artwork. Love how this dwarf here just is standing there oh so casually while also frying these guys with electricity. That's great. And more exciting stuff. Okay. 9 easy steps. I mean, 9 easy steps to make a character. I feel like that's... If it's 9... I feel like, yeah, 9 steps is a little much. But I guess if you're trying to break it down, it's maybe not too bad. I don't know. I have not looked through the 5th edition D&D book to go like, wait, how many steps are there actually to creating a character? Anyway, and admittedly, some of these are like, create a concept. Oh, wow. Create a concept. Pick a name. You know, some of these are not terribly complicated. Some of them are more intense. Yeah, okay, so skipping the concept because, yeah, if you're playing an RPG, you should probably have some idea of what type of character you want to play. Okay, abilities. So this is where the AGE games get a little wonky because they're not all entirely compatible. Like, they're not all cross compatible with each other, I believe. Like, so here is the Dragon Age on the back of the thing. They included the character sheet. And let's see, the abilities listed here are accuracy, communication, constitution, dexterity, fighting, intelligence, perception, strength, and willpower. Cool. Dragon Age has communication, which, okay, cool. Constitution, okay, cool. Cunning, I guess that could be intelligence. Dexterity, okay. Magic, That's not a thing in Fantasy Age. Okay, but perception, strength, and willpower. Okay, yeah, sure. Those all. So yeah, they don't entirely match up. But again, because the problem with Letch is, hey, cool, very excited that they made a tabletop game for Dragon Age. It not being entirely and I'd have to check the other ones, but obviously not all of them have used the same. So yeah, they don't all use the same abilities. There's like let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think like, yeah, some of them might use like 8. Some of them might use 10. I don't remember, but yeah, I do distinctly recall, like, yeah, they don't all. So while they all use the same basic mechanics, you cannot easily take content from one game and just port it over to a different one. And I think that was a little annoying, but it is what it is. And admittedly, like, you're not gonna. What are you? There's probably not going to be a ton of that going on, but Anyway, all right. So again, and they offer 2 general ways to determine abilities. In this case, obviously, you have the point buy, which is actually the one which is the one they actually recommend. It's like, okay, your rating in each ability starts at 0, and you get 13 points to distribute between them, max of 3 in any one ability. So, it's that, yeah, that provides, that presumably means, like, okay, worst case, on any roll, you're rolling 3 dice and hoping to get a good result. You're not subtracting anything. Alternatively, if you like rolling dice, it's, hey, roll 3d6 and consult the table. Don't write down the total you got on the dice. Write down write down this number in the starting ability column. Because this number that you actually rolled on the three dice, this is the only time that's going to be important as far as determining abilities go. And I'll grant Green Ronin this. That was a really good decision right off the bat. I don't, nobody really needs. It's very rare. Again, I have to come back to D&D. It's very rare that your actual ability score matters so much as your ability score modifier. So they just said, okay, we're not going to have ability scores. We're just going to essentially use the modifier, because this is the number that's going to be added to things. All right. And here's where the actual additional stuff comes in. So each ability has various different types of focuses. Focuses. I think they use focuses, which feels awkward, but focuses. And if you have if you have that particular focus, or if you have a relevant focus to whatever you're rolling, that gives you a +2 to the roll. Let's see, at level 11 and up, the +2 bonus focus may increase further. Neat. But, they're generally something to do with it. Accuracy, which is, I will say, going back up, actually, I do kind of like that they broke some of these apart. They sort of separated out some of the called like the basic 6. Like, okay, breaking out the attacking with ranged weapons and finesse weapons from agility and hand-eye coordination. I think that's cool. Separating your ability to use a non-finesse melee weapon from your raw physical strength. I think that's cool. I see. I think, yeah, and perception. Your awareness of the world around you versus your mental toughness, essentially, of wisdom. Kind of, wisdom in D&D is always feels kind of weird and awkward, because it's like, okay, it's not knowing things, and it's also used for perception, and so many mental saves focus on this instead of intelligence. So, like, yeah. But I think like other editions have used, like, it's a will save. It's like, okay, so wisdom is willpower. Okay, sure. I don't know. Anyway. But again, we have a bunch of various focuses for each ability score. So, you have accuracy stuff, which focuses on, mostly on things that require ranged attacks, though I do like that they included staves and brawling and dueling. Dueling, obviously, for the fancy finesse weapons. Brawling, but I kind of like that they... Well, I don't know. I feel like brawling could potentially go either here or with fighting, but I guess if you were... Brawling is more about... I don't know. If fighting is more about using weapons and whatnot, then I guess brawling being under accuracy makes sense. And I feel like part of the reason they put staves in here is because mages, that's like one. Okay, actually, the two types of combat focuses that non-magic equipment, weapon type fight combat stuff mages get are both are brawling and staves, so I guess it makes sense to put that under accuracy as opposed to fighting or strength, because you're a wizard. You're not good at fight. If you were good at fighting, you wouldn't be a wizard. If you were strong, you probably wouldn't be a wizard. Anyway, all right. Again, we have the use of the switch the term ancestry instead of race. Again, always happy to see that. You pick your ancestry, of which there are several. You also get to roll. There's a lot of rolling on handy little tables or picking something from little tables in as we go through this. And hey, your ancestry could give you some different things, because admittedly they don't necessarily separate out like biological stuff from like cultural stuff. Well, sort of. There's definitely some weird kind of you know what I mean, like the standard. Okay, these types of elves are good with these types of weapons and that kind of stuff. So, but there's a range of options, which is nice. So, not all elves are good with this stuff. Not all dwarves are good with that. So that's kind of neat. There's a little bit of randomization there if you want to roll on it. Although there is some stuff that they all. So yeah, there's some stuff that everyone from that ancestry gets. Plus, you get another 2 from rolling on the table or picking from the table, and that stuff can include getting an ability focus, getting some special thing that you can do, special quality or trait, a talent. Basically, hey, you get a free talent at the first level. That's nice. Or proficiency with a certain type of weapon. And because of this, because that's basically all what an ancestry consists of. Hey, doing mixed ancestry character is a lot easier, because it basically boils down to, okay, let's see, ancestry's basic rule. Okay, you pick one ancestry to be dominant, pretty much, and you take all the basic stuff from that one, and then you pick get one benefit from the dominant ancestry and a benefit from the other ancestry. So, hey, neat. All right, so getting into different ancestries. The Drak, I don't know. Dragon people, basically. And I know they look like lizards, but the fact that they have a flame breath thing tells me, yeah, no, they're dragon people. Yeah, humanoid dragons. There we go. Other options. Okay, got dwarf, obviously. Dwarf, very cool. Well, I get this setting kind of sort of defaults to sort of an early Renaissance, whatever, Age of Sail. I don't kind of mostly. Hey, guns are a thing in this game by default, which is neat. Need to see more. Would love to see more of that in fantasy, where settings where guns are things and exist and people use them. We got dwarf, we got dwarves, we got elves, we got gnomes, we got goblins, which is neat. Again, I feel like I think first edition definitely included orcs as an ancestry option, and but I do like that they, hey, we're again goblins, because I'm sure plenty of players wanted to play goblins instead, and they didn't. Were tired of kludging something together. Halfling, again. This guy was the This guy, he was the mage character art in first edition, and I recognize the kind of vest and the staff. I don't. It just random bit of trivia. Human, obviously. Yep. Yeah. Orcs. We got orcs. You can play an orc. It's awesome. And last one, wild folk. I'm guessing this might have come from Blue Rose. I don't know, but it's basically like, okay, right, you're one of those human animal hybrid creature character. So yes, you can play a cat person or a dog person. Whatever. They're not gonna. And hey, sure, you get to do benefits from wild folk table. Able and select one from the wild folk species table. So like, yeah, that's kind of neat. So hey, here's, okay, you get determine the sort of animal you resemble. There are many kinds of wild folk, only 6 species. Families are listed. You can get one of the benefits listed for your species. So yeah, hey, so if you're a bird person, you can either get the benefit glide, a degree in the observation talent, the natural weapon ability, or a focus on specifically searching under perception. So that's, again, nice variety of options, all of them decent, or at least valid. Anyway, bumped my microphone. I'm gonna try and get through this. It's getting toward 9:30. Jeez. Okay, backgrounds. This is kind of neat and breaks down. Okay, so there you have 4 general classes. Outsider, which is basically you are someone who is generally sort of outside the social order, more or less. Yeah. Strangers, outcasts, vagabonds. We'll get into closer examination. You'll get an idea. So yeah, we have outsider, lower class, middle class, and upper class. Again, it's reasonably straightforward fantasy type stuff. But each of those then breaks down into specific backgrounds. So like again, outsider backgrounds being things like criminal, exile, hermit, pirate, radical, and wanderer. Whereas your middle class stuff is guilder, initiate, innkeeper, merchant, scribe, student. It's and each of these backgrounds gives you a choice between 2 focuses. So okay, like, yeah, apparently artist is a lower class thing, because apparently, I don't know, apparently starving artist, who knows. But you either can pick between having intelligence, cultural lore focus, or intelligence evaluation focus. Little ways to flesh out your character. And a little paragraph for each background. You get the idea. Classes, finally. Okay. So yeah, every class, different classes. Okay, so every class has, of the 9 abilities, they have four abilities are considered primary. These are the ones, these are the important ones, the ones you want to focus on. And the others are secondary, which are, maybe not something you should be, you should not be the one necessarily with the high, you should not necessarily be putting all your efforts, putting as much effort into those as you do effort and attention to those, but we'll still give those some attention for reasons. Starting health weapon groups, yeah, you have a certain list of weapons you are actually proficient with and know how to use, and then you have and class special little things that your class gets. And of course the experience table, which I don't know. Yeah, again, I generally feel like this system kind of walks a line, wants to, I think especially now that I'm more familiar with like 5th edition, because again, I didn't, even when I got the 1st edition Fantasy Age book, this felt a little more, oh, it's kind of maybe leaning a little more toward grittier, harder, not maybe not harder, a little less gentle on players, I guess, on the PCs, sort of, than 5e, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, getting into okay. So, right. Remember, mentioned primary and secondary abilities. So, when you gain a level, you gain. So you're. I don't think. Yeah. Power becomes more. Okay. So every time you gain a level, you get a point to put towards boosting an ability, one of your abilities. Every even level, I think every even level, it has to go toward a primary ability, and every odd level, it has to go to one of your secondary abilities, I believe. And it gets more expensive, and the higher your ability gets, the more expensive, more advances it takes to increase it. Yeah. So yeah, -1 up to 5. It costs one advancement to bump it up a point. 0.6 to 8 costs 2. 9 to 12. 12 costs 3. Honestly, if you're getting an ability up to 12, that's crazy, and you probably spent like everything you had in that one, or a good chunk of everything you had, or as much as possible. Additionally, when you gain every level, you gain you get a new focus. Again, when you get an even number level, you pick a focus from a primary ability. Odd number level, you pick a focus from a secondary ability. So they don't so it's a way to say, okay, you don't, to encourage you to not ignore the things that your character maybe isn't. Don't necessarily ignore abilities that your abilities and ability focuses for stuff that your character maybe isn't primarily for. So like, just because you're a warrior doesn't mean you shouldn't have some kind of communication focuses. Not a terrible idea. Well, stunts. Apparently, again, they added special. Again, they added special stunts for specific classes, or classes have their own little sub stuntless, which is definitely interesting, and I'm wondering how that works out. But and talent advancement, specialization advancement, etc., etc. Anyway, getting into it. Okay, first class. Again, there's only 4 of them, so it's not a ton of stuff to get through. But presumably there's the idea is that the basic class concept is flexible enough that there's plenty of room to play around in there and make it your own. But yeah, so Envoy again, primary abilities being communication, fighting, intelligence, and willpower. So definitely not necessarily a frontline fighter. Definitely focusing more on being, smart, but also saying, yeah, being able to swing a sword would not go amiss. Get three weapon proficiencies from a list. Very nice. 25 plus con plus a d6 for starting health. I think that feels like normal mid range. I think that's like on par with the rogue, I guess. I'm not even going to dig into all these different class abilities, but as a free action, select a foe who can hear you to be dazzled. Roll communicate. If your communication is greater than their willpower, you gain a +2 bonus to defense. Okay, so yeah, bantering at this person so much that they're too distracted by your banter to properly fight. Nice. There are 2 social classes and 2 backgrounds. Neat. Again, get a specialization. And at first level, I do appreciate that they say, like, okay, here's some recommended specializations to take first, because these ones are maybe not so difficult. Or at least, these ones aren't complicated. And yeah, it all gets kind of breaks down really shortly after that. So yeah, they managed to get these classes and everything you need to know about them up to level 20 into like 2 pages. It's neat. It's interesting. Mage, again. Mage is a combat, or Mage is the spellcaster. So, primary abilities are accuracy, because, hey, yeah, you're going to want to hit stuff with your spells. That would be handy. Intelligence, perception, and willpower. I believe willpower does connect to your ability to cast spells and how many spells you can cast. You know how to throw a punch and you know how to use a stick. That's it as far as your ability to defend yourself in combat goes. Hope you weren't counting on. Although if you do want to use other weapons, that is an option. But you're a spellcaster. Why are you trying to mix it up in combat? That's weird. Especially because, hey, you get a free attack people at range with magic ability. Why wouldn't you stick with that instead? Yeah, okay, magic points. Here we go. Number of magic points equal to 10 plus your willpower plus a d6. Yeah, you're going to want to keep track of that because spells cost cost magic points. Okay, This other stuff. Rogue, yep, okay. Accuracy, communication, dexterity, perception. Makes sense for those to be the main ones. Not a frontline person. Generally, not, a tanky person. I do find it neat. See, yeah. Right. Okay, so I don't think there. So there's no penalty, or there's nothing stopping anyone from using armor, but there are penalties. So yeah, this is kind of a fun, good little thing for rogues. Like, okay, yeah, ignore armor penalty of leather armor entirely, so it doesn't affect your speed or your dexterity. And additionally, when you're wearing either no armor or leather armor or just no armor at all, you're actually faster than normal, or you can move even quicker. So that's neat. Right, they get. Unfortunately, yeah, they don't have a. Rogues don't have backstab, but they do get pinpoint attack, which adds a d6 of damage if your dex is greater than your opponent's, or if they're experiencing various conditions. Handy thing to keep in mind, so rogues can still be that glass cannon type thing. And finally, warriors. I really dig this new warrior artwork. I don't know, more good orc representation. Always up for that. Again, warrior, not surprising. Constitution, dex, fighting, strength. Makes sense. Okay, I think this. The other ones have starting talents. Yeah, okay. I think they do all have. Right. Yeah, they also have a list of. Pick one of these 3 talents to take a novice level in. Some of them seem more, just to give a general idea of what type of character you're getting into. Who potentially. And of course, like, all the warrior ones are basically here. Here's different ways of fighting. And you also get novice armor training for free. Which I believe lets you ignore some penalties for wearing certain types of armor. I want to say leather and studded leather. There's not a ton of armor options. Again, quick, yeah. Actually looked at this. It's a nice handy list of here. There's a list of various inspirate type characters to get some ideas for. I find it interesting that Michael Moorcock's Elric is listed as a mage, although I guess really thinking about it, sure. I don't know. I'm admittedly, yes, Elric is definitely more of a spellcasty type person than he is anything else, but also he uses a big sword. So, yeah. Yeah. Starting equipment, kind of like they say, like, okay, Envoy, this is what you have. They kind of break some of this down by class. Say, like, okay, you're obviously going to have stuff appropriate for your class. You're obviously going to have at least one weapon. If you have a bow or crossbow, you have ammunition for it. If you are trained in using a weapon and shield, you have a shield to start out with. And finally, hey, get some random starting money. And this is gonna maybe be a little weird. I love that, like, the default coinage they go with. Select your background and social class. You begin with an additional. Wait. Character gets an amount of silver pieces to buy additional gear depending on their social class. If you selected your background and social class, you begin with an extra additional 50 pieces. If If you rolled social class with background randomly, the amount of money you begin with is rolled on the following table. Okay. So if you picked, you start with, I guess, whatever this base is, plus 50. Or no. No, you just start with 50. So yeah, you just, sure, I guess. Anyway, I love that he went with silver as the main, as the principal coin, because, you know, if you actually look into the, if you actually know anything about like pre-modern, again, pre-modern Europe, because, or honestly, pre-modern, probably even as well Eastern Asia as well, but you know, it's basically like, right, gold was not gonna be the thing you spent, or gold was not the thing most people had were gonna be spent, was probably not gonna be the thing most people would be spending. They would be spending, you know, they would be using silver because gold is expensive. Yeah, okay. So this is something that actually took. I didn't even realize this was actually in the book, in original early or first edition as well. But like, okay, I didn't realize that. Oh, defense. That's an actual thing. Okay, you have an actual defense score, which is based on, you know, your dexterity and possibly a shield bonus. So, but named goals and ties, yada da 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 da. More character building stuff. Moving on. Okay, basic rules. We kind of already covered this ability test. You know, 3d6 plus an ability plus relevant focus. Get the result. Roll higher than the number. You know, yeah. If you have an ability focus, gives you a +2. I might get better if you get as you get higher levels. Target number, basically, yeah, okay. A average difficulty is going to be, you know, 11. So, you know, roll at least an 11 on 3d6. Probably not going to be too hard. Moving on. Again, there's a whole bunch of getting near the end when I'm going to be calling it. So, okay. Think right. Combat, you get a major action, a minor action, or two minor actions. Major actions are, you know, attack, charge, defend. Defend, go full out on. Okay, full speed, that's a chase thing. Takes medical tank. Give someone medical attention, make a melee attack, make a range attack, run, or do something with your with stunt points, minor action. Activate a magical device. Take aim with an attack. Get your guard up. Move. Postpone your major action. Press the attack. Successfully strike an enemy target. Ready. Stand fast. Yeah, you get the idea. Combat. Again, guns are a thing in this setting, and honestly, this was I think this might have been the first place I'd ever even heard of an arquebus, which want to say an arquebus is want to say it's like a type of gun, very fairly primitive form of black powder gun. I'm gonna have to look this up now. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. 15th century, very early long gun. So it's like a musket, but like like crappier potentially, even earlier. And I like that they basically included blunderbuss as a shotgun. It's nice. Not super useful at range, but damn, if it will mess up a lot of people at close range. Da, 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 da. Okay. So we have defense for combat, and that's the number you have to beat to actually hit the target. But also, I'm sorry, but yeah, wolves with scorpion tails. That's just terrifying. Conditions, yada 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 yada. Did we skip past the damage? Damage, inflicting damage. Yeah, okay. But yeah. So given that damage is based on dexterity and having a shield, what does armor do for you? Well, armor gives you an armor rating, which subtracts from damage. And I guess maybe we can skip ahead a bit. Yeah, there's just a lot of and we have various alternate rules for different types of areas and other types of encounters and things and blah blah blah. Sure, character options real quick. Okay, yeah, we have a bunch of various focuses. Again, we kind of got a glance at those early on, but this is a more in-depth look. Talents. Nice things for it. For you. Many of them have requirements. Some of them are restricted to certain classes. Is like, yeah, it's like arcane training. Learn extra spells. You have to be a from some arcana, which is how they break down different types of spells. You have to be a mage to take that. Armor training requires you to be a warrior, although why they have that to begin with, I don't know. Yeah. Wear leather and mail armor without suffering penalty to dexterity based tests. Nice. Archery style rogue or warrior can take this, that kind of thing. I'm wondering, are there? Yeah, okay. Command envoys and warriors can take that. That's neat. Blah 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 blah. Wondering, are there any envoy specific things? We obviously have like stuff that's restricted to just warriors. We have stuff that's restricted to just rogues. Huh. Not looking like it. I guess they're really leaning in. I guess as far as envoys go, they're really leaning into. Yeah, you get to be the talky person. Why wouldn't you want to? But we also don't want to restrict being able to talk to people to just you. Anyway, specializations. This is fun. I don't know. I don't think multiclassing, as far as I'm aware, is not really a thing, or they did not design this system to allow for multiclassing. So specializations kind of let you multiclass a little bit, Arcane Disciple lets people who are not mages cast spells. Handy. Or potentially interesting. Some of these, again, some of these are clearly locked to certain classes, as pretty obvious. Some of them are not, which is one of the big things one of the things they changed from the first edition. Because the first edition, I think every specialization was restricted to a single class, whereas this second edition AGE, some of them are not restricted to, or at least different multiple classes can take this specialization. So like aspect warrior can be taken by rogue or warriors. Envoys and rogues can take the bard talent specialization. Anyone can take the crime lord specialization. Interesting. Although, yeah, I do feel like they did create a bunch of new specializations for envoys, which I guess makes sense. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's just a bunch of options here, stuff like that. Heritage, I guess, for those people who aren't happy just playing a regular whatever their ancestry is. So no, I have to be the child of some special otherworldly being, because of course I do. I do like that the knight option goes with either envoy or warrior, because that plays into the knights as both combatants and as a having a social role. I don't know. I kind of like that. I think that's cool. Blah 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 blah. Yada 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 yada. Necromancer is its own special thing for mages. That's yeah, not surprising. Da, 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 da. Yeah, and here, sword mage for the mages who want to be slightly less squishy, or at least use a weapon other than a stick or their fist. Handy. Okay. Quick thing, look at equipment, then we'll probably call it a day. Okay, again, hey, wow, like all sensible fantasy settings, they use a decimalized currency system. Yeah. Muzzle-loading firearm, which matchlock or wheel-lock firing mechanism requires 2 hands to use. Yeah. So yeah, obviously, yeah, breaking down. These are all the different groups you can be proficient with, and all the weapons that fall into those groups. You get the idea. Handy table of just how much damage does it do? How much? What minimum strength you need to even use the weapon? And of course, how much does it cost? Some of these are very expensive, like a musket. Some of them cost next to nothing, or literally nothing. Let's see. Yeah. And of course, missile weapons, of course, have a reload time, because again, we're going for a slightly more realistic, maybe a little more of a realistic type weapon. So like, yeah, you fire a crossbow, I hope you weren't planning on, it's basically, yeah, I hope you weren't planning on attacking again in the next round, or I hope you weren't planning on firing again in the next round, because oh well. Lovely, nice artwork. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, there's only a couple yeah, so you can yeah, as you see, there's only a handful of actual types of armor. So that's like 6, and it's basically light and heavy of the same thing. And yeah, armor penalty and penalty represent weight and bulk. So you have the type of armor. We have how much damage it will soak for you from an attack, and what if you're untrained in the armor, listed armor penalty applies to your speed and dexterity. If you are trained in it, it applies only to your speed. So yeah. So yeah, different armors will kind of slow you down. Heavier armors will provide more soak up more damage, but they will also potentially slow you down more. I will admit I find it a little interesting that the suit of heavy plate costs only 150 silver, but maybe that's because I'm accustomed to D&D prices. So yeah. And of course shields give you a bonus to your defense depending on how big they are, blah blah blah. I'm not going to dig into this. Hey, cool, we got different types of grenades that do different types of things. Like some of them do more damage I think they do some of these. Yeah. Oh, they all have they're all special rules. Fun. Yada yada yada. A bunch of other stuff you might want to spend money on if your GM is the kind of person who cares about that kind of thing. And do you have this, that, and the other thing? Carrying in storage because, sure, I don't know. Okay. There's a story here, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if I want to know. Yeah. I don't know why, but for some reason, they put a lot of interest into things to spend money on. And I guess that's part of the inheritance of D&D, where it's like, okay, yeah, we need to have a huge list of stuff to spend money on, even if we don't actually use it or know what it's for. Let's do Arcana Magic real quick. I think we'll call it there after this. Whatever. Sure. Yeah. Different Arcana are basically how spells are broken down into different. Their spells are broken down into different arcanas. You need to have access to the arcana before you to learn the spells. Some of them require more. Yeah. Cast a spell. Again, 3d6 plus your intelligence plus an arcana focus if you have it. You want to beat the spell's target number. Overcome natural resistance to. Yeah. So spells allow targets to test against spell power. Okay. That's basically, okay, the target of your spell gets to make a save. Here's what your save is. 10 plus willpower plus arcana focus if you have it. They rules don't divide magic in. Yeah, the rules basically say, like, okay, all magic is the same by default, but if you want to have divine versus arcane, here's ways to do that. Okay. And real quick, yeah, we have some different arcana. There's generally not a ton of spells in each. Some of them are, again, the usefulness of some are, well, obviously they're going to vary depending on the type of character you want to play. if you want to play a so yeah, you can get an idea. Some of them are definitely more focused on combat and doing stuff there, whereas others are more like, yeah, this is not so much useful for combat, but it can do other stuff for you, or this might not necessarily deal. This might, like this spell might not be super helpful if you want to just deal damage, but it could be useful in other ways. Obviously, hey, divination, probably not super handy versus in combat, but it can be useful in different ways. There's other stuff that it's good for, and or versus the more elemental stuff, which might include, yeah, here you throw a rock at somebody, you throw a big rock at somebody, or essentially, or you give yourself some armor. Enchantment. Sorry. Enchantment. Maybe not super useful in combat, but dang if it's not going to be potentially handy to have if you get it up, if you get to a high enough level of proficiency with it. I kind of find it interesting that water is, oh no, sorry, not water, this is healing. Okay, I don't know why I assumed it was water, I guess because of art, but yeah. Heroic, which is basically looks like a lot of buffing, which is, I guess, which is neat, I suppose. Lightning is its own special thing. I love it. That's great. That's neat. General magic manipulation kind of stuff. Protection and shadow and water. I think water might be the last one. Nope, wood, because of course we have wood. I guess that's plants and stuff, I suppose. Sure, we had an animal one, so let's do a plant one too. Neat. And a bunch of less powerful stuff to do, but that might be kind of neat and handy. Like, here's a spell that'll keep you dry in the rain. And last thing, just gonna say this. Okay, yeah, stunts, mentioned this before. You roll doubles, you get a certain number of points. Use them or lose them, basically. Stunts are just basically fun ways to make things more interesting than just, okay, I succeed, then okay, I succeed. Like, I don't know. Here's a bunch of stuff you can do in combat. You can knock an enemy on their butt, deal some extra damage, ignore, or deal, punch through their armor, punch through the target's armor, so so their armor rating does less for them. Or, hey, if you roll really well, hey, wow, you can inflict an extra 2 dice of damage with the attack. That's serious. And hey, stunts aren't just for combat. You can do social stunts as well, and exploration stunts. And of course, because magic is a thing, we have special extra magic stunts. And new to 2nd edition, again, we have special class specific stunts. Some of which are, yeah, you get the idea. Okay, and now we're getting into the Game Master section, which is where I will leave this off. Okay. All right, so that went a little bit longer than I intended, but I suppose that's not surprising, given that I also spent a little longer kind of digging into the background of this particular system. Anyway, so I should probably be getting to bed soon anyway. Tomorrow I will be back with more Dragon Age, probably doing Leliana's song, I think, DLC stuff. It'll be fun. Come by and watch, or checking it out on YouTube when I eventually upload this stuff, which will hopefully be Sunday. I don't know. I'll try and upload this stuff and have it go live Sunday. We'll see if I can remember to do that. Anyway, next week, hopefully, I will be looking at the game I was initially planning to do this week, which is another game that I'm actually really excited about, and I've been really looking forward to getting my hands on for some time now. And then I think my general plan is, after that, let's see, I could probably spend 2 weeks. I'm thinking spending like 2 weeks just streaming some video games, and then when August starts, I'm kind of thinking of turning my Thursday night streams into Baldur's Gate 3 streaming nights, because that's about the time that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to go live. The full version is going to finally be released, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people playing it, but you know what? I don't care. Ooh. Actually, I might. Actually, you know what? I won't. Not might. I will be taking the last Thursday of the month off, because that's my birthday. And I'm not going to be working on my birth. I'm not going to be doing this on my birthday. I have better things to be doing than that. Anyway. So that's maybe a preview of what's coming up. That's it. But otherwise, that's it from me for now. And I will be back tomorrow with more Dragon Age. And other than that, I will probably try to be back again next week. So, anyway, till then, bye.